It's time to talk about my top 10 wide receiver rankings for week 14. We're getting right here into the video. Talk about number 10 here, Calvin Ridley. This is a wide receiver that he's really not living up to the expectation, or at least my expectations that I had for him coming into the season. Even though he had a DeAndre Hopkins on the other side with him, I thought he was going to be the premier #1 wide receiver for the Titans. It just really hasn't come about. You know, he's had a game or two where it's like, okay, he's doing pretty well, but overall, not what we all expected. But I think this week could be the week that he kind of comes out of his shell and becomes the wide receiver we all expected. And I'm hoping that continues on into the fantasy football playoffs. This week, they do take on a Jaguars defense that ranks 30th against opposing wide receivers. You could have a coming out party this week, you know, with the Titans. I think overall, this could be the week that Will Levis gets it together against a defense that can't do anything correct and throw the football to his primetime wide receiver. If they can't get it done this week, I don't think he's going to be able to get it done at this point. I don't know what the team needs to do to kind of get around and kind of come together and become a fantasy football, you know, destination where you want to be. It's just nobody's excited when you're saying, hey, I'm starting Calvin Ridley this week. Nobody's excited about that. So I think this week they do right the ship. I would definitely get Calvin Ridley into your lineups. He definitely made it into my top 10 against a defense that really will not have any answer for Calvin Ridley. I like him as my number 10 wide receiver here in week 14. Move right along here at number 9. We're going Cooper Kupp. It's another wide receiver, right? Ups and downs. And a lot of those ups and downs, not only due to the injuries he had earlier in the season, but he also has Puka Nacua, a really good wide receiver on the other side of him as well. And Matthew Stafford kind of getting up there in age, so he's not really going to say, hey, I got both of these guys going absolutely freaking ham sauce every single week. So sometimes it's a Cooper Kupp week, sometimes it's a Puka Nacua week. I think Cooper Kupp gets the job done quite well in a matchup that they need to have some points produced from the Rams offense. This week they take on a Bills defense that ranks 2nd against opposing wide receivers. He could, be a very competitive matchup, and against a very good secondary, they're going to have to put up a lot of points. We already know the Bills are on a win streak. They're hot right now. They're going to be putting up fantasy points, NFL numbers, everything. So the Rams offense is going to need to keep up with that. Matthew Stafford has the ability to keep up with that. So I think both of these wide receivers will be into my top 10 this week with the bye week, bye-apocalypse, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks that's on bye week right now here in week 14. And this is going into your fantasy football playoffs. You need to get this thing right, and I think Cooper Kupp can help you get the job done easily here at number 9 for me. Move right along here. We're going up to number 8. We're saying CeeDee Lamb. I hate seeing CeeDee Lamb so low on this list. Now, he is being targeted quite a bit, which I do like. Cooper Rush is the quarterback over there. Hopefully, he gets the ball to CeeDee Lamb even more. He gets a lot of targets. They're not very high value targets. Maybe, if you're in a more of a PPR league, half PPR, you're liking CeeDee Lamb a little bit more. But this week, they're taking on a Bengals defense ranks 21st against opposing wide receivers. He needs to step up for a team that really needs him right now. There's going to be a lot of points put up by the Bengals. Joe Burrow's playing out of his mind right now. And so the Cowboys are going to have to respond a little bit. The Cowboys defense ain't giving them any help. They're going to be in a negative game script. We know this is going to be the case. So they're probably going to be throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb. There's not a lot of people on the secondary. It's going to be able to slow down CeeDee Lamb. The problem is that he needs a quarterback that's able to get him to the football. We're going to see what happens. I do like CeeDee Lamb. I had to put him here in my top 10. I think the opportunity is there for CeeDee Lamb to be successful. If you got him, you're starting him because you put probably a first-round pick on CeeDee Lamb. You want the guy to produce. You hate that Dak Prescott's not there, but hey, it is what it is. Next man up, and hopefully they can get the job done with CeeDee Lamb. Going into your fantasy football playoffs, you're dependent on CeeDee Lamb to get you at least a baseline amount of fantasy points so you can really produce good fantasy football. I think he can do it this week in week 14. We're right along here at number 7. We're going George Pickens, the guy who, by Mike Tomlin, needs to grow up, right? I mean, he's still producing at a high level, but he's got to stop all of these penalties that he's doing. I mean, he could take the top off of a defense better than probably anyone in the NFL. He's got the spectacular hands. He can make these tough catches. We just need to see what happens. I think this week 14, he can get the job done. Right now, they're taking on a Browns defense that ranks 29th against opposing wide receivers. He's looking to always make that highlight play, and that's what I like. He's fun to have on your fantasy team. When you have George Pickens playing, you're excited, like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for a 50-yard bomb to happen for George Pickens because he can make it seem so easy. The problem is he just needs to calm down, be calm and cool, collected, have a better rapport with Russell Wilson, do even better so he can consistently be getting over that 100-yard mark every single week. And he needs to score more touchdowns. What do you have, like 3 touchdowns so far on the year? He needs more touchdowns. He had quite a few touchdowns already called back due to penalties. I think this week he gets back into the end zone. He's playing against the Browns team who they're going to be throwing a lot. Jameis Winston throws the ball all over the field. And the Steelers defense is good enough to get a lot of turnovers as well. So between the offensive firepower, the good defense that they have, I think George Pickens is going to have a lot of opportunities to be on the field and to make a lot of plays for you to succeed and to be a lot of fantasy points for your offense. Look for George Pickens to get involved here in week 14 and to be a factor for your fantasy team. Let's move right along here. Going over at number 6, we're talking Mike Evans, right? This is a wide receiver who's gelled pretty nicely with Baker Mayfield. Not having Chris Godwin on the other side of the field, I think almost kind of hurts Mike Evans sometimes. There's not nobody over there on the other side that's really having any competition for targets as of right now, but the defense is able to kind of play over the top on Mike Evans, which limits a lot of his opportunity and his playability as of right now. But I had to put him easily up here into my top 10. This week they are taking on a Raiders defense ranks 11th against opposing wide receivers. Should be a fantasy point explosion game for Mike Evans. I think the Raiders, they don't have a chance, right? I think the Buccaneers are playing hot right now. Baker Mayfield is playing out of his mind for fantasy football. He's trying to win a division at this point with the NFC South. And I think Baker Mayfield is going to be a big reason why they do that. Throwing to Mike Evans could be a big reason why. I think you see Mike Evans get into the end zone this week. That's why he's over here at number 6 for me. I just think Mike Evans has a solid game this week against the Raiders. You got to put him into your lineup and be confident if you do have Mike Evans this week. So move right along now. In my top 5, at number 5, we're going Puka Nacua. We talked a little bit about Cooper Kupp. The same goes for Puka Nacua. The competition is there. They're going to need to be able to put up a lot of points. Again, they are taking on that Bills defense. They do rank 2nd against opposing wide receivers. And like I mentioned before, it's going to be a very competitive matchup. It's going to be a lot of back and forth. It's going to be required of Matthew Stafford to be throwing the football quite a bit. You're going to see Kyron Williams run the football. He's going to get his share. But I think Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp is going to be needed to make this game competitive. And I think that's going to be the case. I think he puts up a lot of fantasy points for you. Puka Nacua can do a lot of different things, whether it's a short pass, long pass. He can even run the football. There's a lot of things they can do to get the football into Puka Nacua's hands to give you more and more fantasy points. I do like him here in week 14. We're right along here at number 4. We're going Amon-Ra St. Brown, another wide receiver, kind of a PPR guy for you, right? So you can go in and make it into the slot. You can go into the outside, do out routes, in routes, slants. No matter what it is, I think Amon-Ra can get the job done. And they're going to be in a very, very tough matchup. When you guys see this already, they've already played this on Thursday Night Football, which was yesterday. But this week, you know, I should say yesterday, they're taking on that Packers defense. They do rank 6th against opposing wide receivers. Great PPR opportunity this week. Like I said, I think it's going to be a good matchup overall. You're already going to see what happens by the time this video releases, because we are recording this on Thursday morning. You're going to see what happened to Amon-Ra, but I think he's going to have a good game. I don't think he's going to have a blow-up game, but I think it's going to be good enough, and he definitely warrants to be in the top 10 for wide receivers this week, going against that Jordan Love and that Packers offense. A lot of firepower on both sides. I think Amon-Ra gets the job done. Move right along here. At number 3, we're going A.J. Brown. This is another wide receiver who really can do what he wants. Big physical wide receiver who is linked up quite nice with Jalen Hurts. I mean, they're playing a team right now that's not going to be able to stop them whatsoever. So A.J. Brown's going to get a lot of points. It's probably going to be early on because they're probably not going to need to pass later on in this game. But then again, they are taking on a Panthers defense that ranks 12th against opposing wide receivers. Should have his way against the secondary. Like I said, there's probably not going to be a lot of teams or a lot of players on this team that's going to be able to slow down A.J. Brown. All that Jalen Hurts has to do is just go back there and just launch the ball up there to A.J. Brown. He's probably going to be coming up to it. Now, does he match up one-on-one with J.C. Horn? Possibility, but I think just A.J. Brown overall talent is better than anybody on the secondary. So I do have to put him up there easily in my top 3 wide receivers here for week 14. Get the guy into your lineup. I think you'd be happy that you did. Over here, number 2, we're going Jamar Chase, right? He's one of those guys that really takes the top off of a defense, can catch the ball down the field, make some things happen. With Joe Burrow multiple times throwing over 400 yards passing in a game, Jamar Chase, he's a big benefactor of that. Now you got T. Higgins on the other side as well. He can make some of his plays, but for the most part, Jamar Chase is doing his thing. But this week they are taking on a Cowboys defense that ranks 19th against opposing wide receivers. You know, he can explode any given week. And against a Cowboys defense that isn't going to be able to do anything to even slow down Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase, I see Jamar Chase having a couple of bomb touchdowns this week who can actually just win you the week here in week 14. I love myself some Jamar Chase this week. And that means, number 1, we're going back to the well and Justin Jefferson. This is a guy, right, who's proven it all season long. We're kind of saying in the offseason that, yeah, he doesn't have Kirk Cousins anymore, but he is that dude. He is a really good wide receiver, no matter who the quarterback is. But Sam Darnold, he's not just yesterday's dirty diaper, right? He's a decent quarterback, and he's shown that he can provide some good offense and playing with a good defense as well. I think he just can get the job done, right? This week, they do take on a Falcons defense ranks 25th against opposing wide receivers. Still an alpha dog on the field every single week, and they are taking on Kirk Cousins on the other side. So they're going to be ramped up. They're going to want to have a little bit more juice in them. The defense is going to be flying around, and I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities on offense for Justin Jefferson to show he is still the primetime wide receiver, and that Kirk Cousins will miss him at the wide receiver position. And, you know, it is what it is. I think it's going to happen quite well for him. Guys, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you guys leave a comment down below. Is there anybody in the top 10 that I left out that you believe should be in the top 10 wide receivers? Guys, we're pumping out multiple videos each and every week to help you best dominate the league and win a championship. Can't wait to see you guys on the next video. We'll see you guys next time.